interview. And as you remember, when we were heading to the break, the next area of discussion was on financing the agricultural sector. And let me now bring in Lila, who is also with us in our summit studio. And Lila, looking at how African governments have been trying to prioritize agriculture when it comes to funding, Kenya, in case in point, has extremely upped the budget around agriculture. But do you feel the funding has been simply throwing money at the problem?
I think, Abby, I spoke earlier on about meaningful political commitment. And I think there is the best way that African governments and even the Kenyan government could show that now is by allocating 10% of its national budget to agriculture. Per the Maputo Declaration that was Kenya signed in 2003. I think when we see statements like 3.5 billion shillings have been allocated in the fight against hunger until April, and appeals for donations from Kenya, I think what we need to see less of is financing or money being thrown at reactive, short-term, and almost band-aid solutions to this problem of systemic hunger. You know, a statement like this fight against hunger makes it sound like, you know, there's an unexpected enemy and we're under attack. And the truth of the matter is that hunger is not an unexpected enemy. So in the case where if you were in a long-term battle and faced under constant threat, would you let down your defenses, or would you continually strengthen your fort by investing in long-term solutions and interventions that effectively respond to the problem?
Interesting. And Kwame, coming back to you, financing has been always a constant issue. We are not getting enough funding. That is what people in the sector are saying. People outside are saying Kenya is sort of well-funded.
Well, I'm usually suspicious of international agreements which say spend 10% of your budget on X without telling you why. Because if you decompose the budget of Kenya's expenditure into agriculture and the agriculture ministry. Remember, one of the things is that agriculture, some functions in agriculture are devolved. So obviously it's county functions. If you look at where that money goes to right now, it's mostly administration, services, and parastatals. And it does not go into things that reach the farmer himself or herself in terms of, this is how you farm, these are the new quality seeds, this is the kind of feedback that you need, and this is the kind of responses you need to changing global conditions. Mm-hmm. So I am not at all for simply throwing money at that. So that's the first. The second point is that farming is private business largely. So it is not possible that government would be able to fund each and every one of the 10 million farmers that we have in Kenya. It is not possible. What we expect is government to provide conditions that allow them, if they want to find seed, it is easily available. And that seed is of sufficient quality, as opposed to giving monopolies to a few farms which then do not provide quality seed, and even then there's no repercussions for that. So how the money moves, in my view, is what worries me, not as much as I don't think the Kenyan farmer wants government to cut him or her a direct check and send it to his home. Sure. What he wants to be able to find is to find an opportunity to compete, to find the right seeds, and to get the advice that is necessary for the farm to be productive. Interesting.
And Emmanuel, of course, the average farmer in Kenya who is doing well is 60 years of age. Yeah. How do we involve the youth in this? Is it a question of better returns, or what is the solution?
Actually, I would say the youth in this country have a big role to play in agriculture. It might not necessarily entail to go and do farming themselves, but the youth should actually be hotspots of information, hotspots of innovation and technology advancement that would support improved agricultural production and productivity in the rural communities, the farming communities in Kenya. This you would understand because many young people aged between 20 and 35 are more educated than any age group you would say in Kenya. And the youth, again, composed of a very big proportion of our population, about 70%, it has been said. So it would be interesting to see the youth taking up these roles, supporting agricultural production across the value chain. Things like value addition should be taken up by young people. These are avenues that young people can come in, and not only to support agriculture, but also to support other interventions that will aim at bringing food security. Because all this leads now to the issues of food distribution, food supply. And when you talk about our markets now, we still have markets that we have not really identified where the consumers are, where the producers are. So even identification of farmers is a problem. So the youth would come in very handy as hotspots of information, as I've said. Right. They will be able to communicate what is in the communities and share also with the communities what they have learned from the education and from other avenues where they participate, like the online platforms.
All right. And I just want to get your closing thoughts as well, Maingi. Looking at technology, financing, we've seen a lot of funding going towards acquisition of manure, which is fertilizer. In equal measure, Kenya has made significant strides when it comes to use of fertilizer, but this is proportionately inverse with what we'd expect in terms of the output.
So agroecology comes in very powerfully. It's a way to link not only the knowledge that is coming from our universities, but also with the knowledge that farmers have had over time. With the changing climate change, they've actually learned how and what works. And so the whole idea of bringing in the youth into agriculture matches very well because on both sides there are skills that need to come in. And science is actually telling us that we are not having a problem with the seed in terms of its robustness. That is there. Because varieties that were from 1969, Kenya 516, 525, 614, are still out-yielding many of the new varieties that are coming in now. The fertilizer we have doubled, and still we're getting a decline in the amount of maize being produced per unit area.
All right.
So we need to look back in the science and then create a movement not only of the youth, but also of the older generation, so that those skills are transferred effectively for climate change and resilience.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, we've run out of time. And of course, this is an unending subject, and we shall definitely be making time to invite you over in the future just to try and put some sense into this conversation that touches on food security. And of course, we shall continue to prosecute this matter until its logical conclusion.